following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome back into the Sportsocracy. I'm Tank Spencer. Jeremy Greene is alongside, and we are in the Ingalls studio. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Get all the team-by-team content here throughout the Draftmas season. It's another 2022 post-Senior Bowl 7-round mock draft, and we'll talk about the AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals.
A mock that got talked about a lot last year.
Yes, it did.
And you did well with Jamar Chase. Don't get me wrong. But, man, I bet you wish you had paid more attention to that line after Sunday. But have no fear. I have a solution to that in the way of your 2022 7-round mock draft.
With the 31st overall pick in the draft, Tyler Smith, a tackle out of Tulsa.
This kid has screamed up draft boards. I had him, and I'm not going to lie, I had not paid a ton of attention to this kid. There are a couple draftable linemen at Tulsa. He has gone from third-round grade to, I have heard he could go as high as Baltimore at 14.
Shoo.
He's really, really smart. I mean, this is left tackle 101, 6'5", 330. He's a little heavy-footed. That's what bothered me in the beginning. And then I slowly started to realize I don't really care. For what I'm going to ask him to do with Joe Burrow back behind him, I don't care because he's actually good against speed rushers. That's not – usually heavy-footed guys, the problem is they end up having to play guard because they can't deal with an edge rusher. Tyler Smith can because he is a horse of a human. Very, very strong. Better run blocker right now than pass blocker. Is going to have to refine the technique, but he's still raw. I mean, only played 2 years at Tulsa. The feet are good. There's a lot to work with. It's just refining the technique. And with Pollock in Cincinnati, I think this is the perfect marriage. I know some people are going to say, well, I read a mock that said he was only a fifth-round prospect. Well, that's bullshit. Okay, that's old information, and it is not the way things go now. Tackles in this draft are going to scream up boards that have this kind of raw ability because there's not that many of them. You get into Nick Petit-Ferrer really quick, who is a no-doubt right tackle that is going to struggle with speed guys forever. Tyler Smith, I could see being a Pro Bowl tackle 3 years down the road. I don't think he's going to be that right off the jump, but here's what he does. And this is not, I swear to you, this is not me saying I told you so. Did you notice how bad Jonah Williams struggled with somebody that's stronger than him? That's because he's a guard. At best, he's a right tackle. At best. And you got to the Super Bowl with him as your blindside protector. This would move Jonah Williams to the right side or to guard, whatever the case may be. Cincinnati has, I think, the fourth most cap space in the league. They're going to go big game hunting. And the two that I'm telling you right now they're going to target are Brandon Sheriff and Stephon Gilmore.
They're projected to have about $57 million.
Now, that's before they re-sign Jesse Bates, which is going to cut a tremendous chunk out of that.
Yes.
But they will still be able to add two high-level pieces out of the free agent pool, and those are the I can't tell you they're going to sign them. I can tell you that's who they're interested in.
That's who they're going after. In the second round, at the 63rd pick overall, I know you love this guy, John Ridgeway, defensive tackle out of Arkansas.
There are not many people in this draft that I look at and go, I will guarantee you have thrown bales of hay over your head at some point. You have flipped tractor tires in a field somewhere. John Ridgeway's one of them. Was having a good week at the Senior Bowl, got hurt in the game, did not come back in, but he is, to me, somebody that can come in and start right away and mitigate some of the loss. There is no way that Cincinnati is going to be able to bring back Larry Ogunjobi and B.J. Hill. DJ Reader's already on a contract, and I would really like this kid next to Reader. I think they could – they did a great job in the Super Bowl against the run, but that had been a bit of a problem all year long. This is one of the few picks that I was not beholden to. The problem with Cincinnati is that I set up my draft board for them, and then they went way further in the playoffs than I expected them to. So this was a guy that I was targeting in the middle of the third round. Now I don't think he's going to last that long. So you have to take him here. And again, I do have to emphasize, I think you're going to go big game hunting after a number one corner to move Uzomah over to play the 2 and a guard. Brandon Sheriff is the one that I have been told.
In the third round, 95th overall, Jeremy Ruckert, tight end out of Ohio State.
He can come in and play right away. Got very good hands. I think he can be a good blocker. He's going to have to bulk up a little bit. He's not crazy athletic right now, about a 4'6" kind of guy, 6'5", 250. I would like to see him play at about 265. The thing I'm curious to see is what they do with Uzomah. Because Uzomah's a free agent, and tight end is, let me put this nicely, bereft of talent. So I could see Uzomah getting way more money than you think. And I'm talking like Mike Gesicki, $10 million a year money, and I'm not paying that. Not with this draft. There are too many talented tight ends that can come in and play that role, whether it's Ruckert, Isaiah Likely out of Coastal Carolina, Charlie Kohler from Iowa State. I think they all can do what Cincinnati asked a tight end to do, and that would be my path. Ruckert was just the one that was available at the back end of the third round.
134th overall in the fourth round, you got the Cincinnati Bengals getting Matt Waletzko, tackle out of North Dakota.
Yeah, and it's North Dakota, not North Dakota State. He plays at the Whittle one.
Yeah.
He is a mountain of a human, 6'7", 310, very raw. But there are not many people in this world that are that big and can move like this kid can. Obviously, technique's going to be raw. I think he's a swing tackle to start with. But ultimately, I do believe with Tyler Smith and Matt Waletzko, you could have your bookends, slide Jonah Williams into the inside. Maybe you have Brandon Sheriff, and now your offensive line is this. Now it's not a deficiency; it is one of the best things you have. And again, I'm going to keep saying this: Cincinnati has one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. You get him raw talent, and I would be really curious to see how far he could take somebody like Matt Waletzko. There's enough. There are no bad habits. The only thing is that playing at the level he played at, he just bullied people because he was so much bigger than them. So he never developed, like his hands never developed. He does some weird things with his hands and can get bypassed, but he's built stereotypically for a tackle. And I think there's a lot of raw potential there that, and I don't think it's as far away as a lot of other people do. There's people that think he's 3 years away from being a contributor in the league. I don't agree with that. I think he can be a contributor right away, like I said, as that swing tackle with the intention of eventually making him a right tackle or a very high-level guard because he is that mobile.
Our North Carolina viewers will be very familiar with this next guy. 173 overall in the fifth round, Jeremiah Gemmel, linebacker out of North Carolina.
This kid is tough as a $4 steak, and that's what I love about him. The problem is that athletically, he was not given every gift that you would like because he is smaller than you want him to be, and he's not as fast as you want him to be. This is a poor man's Chad Muma. That is how I feel about Jeremiah Gemmel, and I think he can come in and contribute on special teams right away. Gonna have to really work on the eye discipline because there are times that he trusts his instincts too much, and that can get him on misdirections, play fakes. But I do think he could come in right away and have a role. Sam linebacker for Cincinnati. Can't tell you he would start there right away, but I think he could contribute very, very early on.
Mm-hmm. He's also a kid that was one of the emotional leaders on the field for the North Carolina Tar Heels, so it'd be good to have a guy like that in the locker room.
Very much so, and he would pair nicely with Logan Wilson. One of the things that made me the happiest about the Super Bowl is that Logan Wilson, who was somebody that the average NFL fan did not know, saw have a very good game, minus one very shitty pass interference call that I still maintain was bullshit, and I'm going to say that for 8 months. But he would pair nicely next to Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt.
In the sixth round, 207th overall, Devontae Price, running back out of Florida International.
I don't like Samaje Perine. I'm going to be as nice about it as I can be. I don't like him. I don't understand why he was getting run at the end of the Super Bowl. You need somebody that can be a legitimate secondary complementary piece to Joe Mixon. There is so much raw in Devontae Price that, I mean, when I did top 13 running backs, he was in top 10. Mm-hmm. 6'2", 200 pounds, thick kid, and he runs a 4.45. Didn't necessarily have the college production that you would want to see, part of a committee, and he was at Florida International, which was coached by the ghost of what used to be Butch Davis. So not somebody that's going to come in right away. Not much of a pass protector. Would probably keep P-Ryan on the roster for a year with the intention of him taking over a year from now as the spellback, but does certainly offer. He's got very good eyes. One of the better vision running backs in this draft, and a lot of raw that I think would take some of the workload off Joe Mixon down the line.
And some will ask, well, if you had him in the top 10, how's he still here in the 6th round?
Running backs are going to get pushed down. I'm going to say this. Every draft where a running back is drafted, they're going to get pushed down because there are so damn many, and there's not that big of a difference between them.
In the 7th round, 223rd overall, out of Georgia, the guard, Justin Shaffer.
This is what Brian Haynes would call a hogamolly.
Yeah.
He's a lot of a human, like a whole lot of a human. 6'4", about 330, heavy-footed. I think can come in and play right away. You don't really want him to. You would like him to be your third guard with the intention of refining the technique. The good is very good. The good on this kid would get him drafted in the 3rd, 4th round.
Yes.
But then there's a lot of bad and just poor technique and gets out of position. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think that part of what made him look so bad at times, was how good the line was around him. Jamari Sawyer was just consistent. You knew what he would be on every play. He also had 2 running backs that are not really good running behind pulling guards, which a lot of times will make the guard look bad, when in all reality it's the running back's fault because the running back's not being patient enough to let the block set up. So this is a kid that I have a higher grade on than he will be drafted. Some people see him as a priority free agent. I think that's insane. In a draft that's this bad on the interior, I like this kid a lot of raw, and could be a steal 3 years from now.
249th overall, last pick of the draft here for the Cincinnati Bengals. Trey Sterling, safety out of Oklahoma State.
This is another kid whose parents I don't think hugged him enough because he's just meaner than shit, and I like that. Now the bad thing is that physical limitations. 5'11", about 210, runs probably in the 4.6 range. He's just. I think this kid can be your special teams captain immediately. Mm-hmm. I just see him as an up man on punts and just being the one that lays the hammer in the beginning. The question is, can you refine him into having a defensive role? Ideally, this would be who takes over for Von Bell 2 years from now, because he is going to have to. You're going to have to refine some of the technique. There's another one. The good's very, very good. And he projects as a inside the box, help you against the run, good enough in coverage. I don't think he'll ever be a deep safety, but he can cover well enough to play up in the box, and he's not going to be a liability in coverage. But you're going to have to be patient with him because as good as his instincts are, he has physical limitation that the higher he escalates up the level of competition, it's going to start messing with him. Somebody, and you saw it some at Oklahoma State. High-level, fast receivers would just get behind him. He just can't run with them. And now I think that was a deficiency on Mike Gundy, but got to know what you have. And there were times he was asked to play deep, which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Well, the Cincinnati Bengals got a lot of hope, much more hope than they had last year going into this year after making the Super Bowl. And obviously you got that young core together. Offensive line, the number one thing you need to pay attention to.
This is one of those classes that if you go down other draft sites and go, well, you overdrafted like 3 of these guys. Well, here's the thing. Update your information because mine is brand new and mine is fresh off the Senior Bowl of Tyler Smith's going to go in the first round. Period. And his upside is tremendous. Now, is he a guy that if you don't coach him right, he can be out of the league in 4 years? Yeah, he is. But if you get the most out of him, that will be one of those picks you look back on and go, how in the hell did we let him fall to 31?
Comments, questions, get them in the comment section here in the Sportsocracy. Jeremy answers those each and every day. If there's somebody he didn't mention that you got a question about, just hit him up. He's always there to answer your question.
This is the first of 3 mock drafts. I do this one. I do one after the combine and free agency calms down. Then I do another one 2 days before the 2022 NFL draft, April 28th in Las Vegas. The Bengals are one of the hardest evaluations because they're picking so much lower than I thought they would. So I still really like this class. Don't get me wrong. It's just it took me more time on Cincinnati than practically any team in the league because I had them chalked into Penning. Now they're too low to get him, and he probably wouldn't have been there where I had them in the first place. So a little bit of it took a little bit of legwork. I think I'm a little ahead of the industry on a couple of these guys. But this would be a tremendous class, and I can't say it would fix that offensive line, but you pair it with the money that they have, and it would take the line from being a deficiency to being a very high upside unit on this team.
You hit that subscribe button, get all of our team-by-team mock draft coverage all throughout the Draftmas season right here in the Sportsocracy 2022 post-Senior Bowl 7-round mock drafts continue. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and we will see you next time.